Wait till we see. Yeah, okay. So I know I can see we're live on YouTube, and then we're also on Rumble. Well, welcome, my friends. It's once again live stream day, and I may have confused you because I released two videos, one of them today. So it's like three videos in 2 days. And of course, this live stream will be coming after just two videos. But I didn't have a choice because the subject matter would have been not newsworthy if I waited till next week, which was the usual schedule for releasing videos. So I basically released a video that I was supposed to release next week now. And the reason was the video had to do with Apple and Twitter. And Twitter or Elon Musk just confirmed that the dispute with Apple was resolved, and he actually went and visited Apple, and it's fine for now, but it doesn't change what I'm saying. It doesn't change what I'm saying because there's always that possibility, not just with Twitter, but with any other app, about what Apple could do or what Google can do because of the duopoly in our phone use. And that's kind of the thing that I want to lead in today, and that's what I want to talk about, is why am I even concerned? What is it about me that drives me to do this? In fact, one of the comments in the video was, somebody said I had a chip on my shoulder. They just didn't understand what that chip was because they're trying to figure out if I was on the left or the right, and couldn't figure it out. So I want to give you today a little bit of a background, as to where I'm coming from, and then, I'm going to be talking more about this phone business and why this really concerns me a lot in the next video as well, or the next series of videos, depending on how it goes here, and I just want you to understand what concerns me and why. Some of you don't understand, and you leave comments like, "Oh, here's another guy that has something to hide." It's like the stupidity of it all. I mean, I'm just telling you, just bugs the hell out of me to even listen to that. But anyway, that's the subject of today's discussion. And welcome Rumble, and welcome YouTube. I see your comments on both sides. For the first 30 minutes, I'm not going to be responding to your comments, and I'll respond in the next 30 minutes. So the video is actually, although it's going to be long, it's going to be an hour and a half long. I know exactly how long it's going to be. It's going to be an hour and a half. We end exactly at an hour and a half. But the first 30 minutes is dedicated to the topic. So if you want to check out 30 minutes, you can do so. After 30 minutes, I go into a Q&A, and then I ask, and then I respond to whatever you want to say. And paying attention to the members, those who are members. Samira is here. How are you doing, my good friend? So, Mamagoo. I mean, some of these friends of mine from the old days, from Periscope even. So, anyway, let me get into a little bit of my background. Oh, so if you're expecting, that the video is going to be so long, just cut out at 30 minutes and then move on and watch my short videos. You don't have to watch any long video. Nobody will force you to. And it's not necessary for the topic that's in the title. So for the topic title, it's going to be 30 minutes. Just want to make sure that's clear. Okay, so a little bit of background. I've been live streaming for a long time. I mean, this is a live stream, but I've actually been live streaming for, my goodness, from Periscope days. Periscope used to be an app owned by Twitter, or was bought by Twitter. We were broadcasting on Periscope long ago, before it was owned by Twitter, and I am on Twitter. And then I left Twitter, and then I came back to Twitter, and I'm back on Twitter now. But I've been live streaming for such a long time, and some people know me well because, I've talked about my life for so many years, and some of you are new. I do have, what is it now? 300, just about 380,000 followers here on subscribers here on YouTube. I am at 17 and a half thousand on Rumble. That's pretty cool. And I reached 80,000 on Odysee. So there's a lot of you who are new, may not know, may not know anything about me actually, to be honest, and don't know what my background is, and don't know exactly why I seem to know a lot of things about a lot of topics, but don't know exactly where it came from. And well, it's time to figure out what drives me. Why is it that I'm so passionate about what I do, about what I'm teaching you, and there's a lot of people on Reddit, for example, who hate me. They don't even know me. They're using words that are like it's just amazing that some guy starts off with something negative about me, and then they all go pursue it, and they don't know anything. They don't even know my background, and they're just pushing themselves, thinking they're super smart without any idea of my background, and and they're judging themselves to be superior to me in some way. And it's like, seriously, I let's find out exactly where I'm coming from. So the reason I'm so adamant about or very passionate about what I talk about here is because of life experience. This is why I'm so flexible with people. I don't judge people based on your politics, and the reason I don't judge you based on your politics is because it's based on your life experience. Everybody's life experience is different, and we all make decisions differently. If you were brought up in an environment that's a poor environment, you probably would react a different way than somebody who was rich all their lives. If you're living in some ghetto neighborhood, in a big city, or you're living in a small town in Wisconsin, where I lived for many years, that'd be completely different. I lived in these environments, so I can tell you that I understand exactly where people are coming from, and I can see how people would be believing in different things. It doesn't bother me what you believe. It doesn't bother me that you're on the left or the right. That doesn't concern me at all. As long as you talk to me or talk to other people in a very nice way. I mean, it doesn't matter what you believe. It's fine, and I respect that. I respect what people believe. Even I don't need to tell you what I believe, because I don't think it matters. But obviously, I believe in a certain number of things that may be different than some of you. But it doesn't even matter to me, because it's the respect I give to anyone who has any particular belief, and it's a respect based on knowing what it's like when you can't talk about something. So if you don't know my life experience here, I'm gonna give you a little bit of background. I was not born in the U.S. I've been in the U.S. a hell of a long time. I lived most of my life in the U.S. But as a kid, I was brought up in a country that had a dictator, and so I lived my youth in an environment with a dictator. And if you don't know what that's like, I'm gonna just describe it to you so you can kind of get a sense of it. If you spoke against by the way, the problem was you don't know who to speak to, because you don't know whose side anybody is. So if you just go on the street and make some statement, you could be talking to what's a term back then? I can't. But today, if you talk about like during the war and so on, in like World War II, somebody who sides with the enemy is called a collaborator. But that's not the term that you would use back then, because it's we're not under foreign control here. It's the government itself, forced martial law, and and some people are on the side of the dictator and some aren't. And how the hell do you become on the side of the dictator? Well, it depends. If you're receiving money from the dictator, or your business is dependent on the kindness of the dictator, then you're gonna be pro-dictator. And this is really, if you actually don't understand how this looks, I'm going to tell you that it doesn't even matter if they're your relatives. Some of my relatives were pro-dictator because they were so rich they made money from the dictator, and the rest of us were not rich. In which case, then if you spoke against a dictator, you go to sucking jail. People disappear. People disappear. I don't know what happens to them when they disappear. They just disappear. I do not know what happens to them. I never found out back then. Actually, I did find out later on what happened to some of them. Some of them disappeared on their own, meaning they escaped. They went to the jungles and they hid there until the dictator was out of power. But some of these were young people, and they were basically, taken out of the possibility of having any kind of career or life, because they had to hide. They had to hide in the jungle somewhere. And fortunately, there were jungles, so you could do that. And just to make it clear, I don't even side with some of these people who disappeared. Some of them were communists, and that's one thing you can know about me. I'm no second communist. So some of them were communists, and so they had a communist side to them, and they spoke, and they didn't like the dictator because of communism, and they disappeared. But you see, I don't even question that, because you can speak your mind, and I'm going to debate you about communism if that's what you follow, and I would beg to disagree with you that communism is a good thing or socialism a good thing, because I don't believe that. At least you know something about what I believe, and it's not that. I don't believe in communism or socialism. But more than that, I do not like authoritarianism. See, I can't even say it. Authoritarianism. See, I can't even say it. I don't like authoritarians. Okay, I don't like anybody telling me what to fucking do. I mean, I just have a simple mantra in my life. I just said, leave me the zuck alone. Leave me to do whatever I want. If I'm not breaking the law in any kind of a way, why the zuck do you have to bother with me? Why do you have to tell me what to do? Why do you need to do anything? And that applies to everything I do. And yes, this is YouTube, so some of you are on YouTube and some of you are on Rumble. But definitely I'm going to tell you that you can't talk about self-defense and any kind of tool for self-defense here on YouTube, so I'm not going to say anything. But if I want to do something for self-defense, why can't I talk about it? But you can't on YouTube, so can't do that. Even though in my years as a live streamer, I've been threatened here. I've been threatened here. So when I get threatened, and I show a response. When I was on Periscope, I was happily showing you a response that is not allowed here on YouTube. So I just want to be left zucking alone. It's a very simple requirement. I mean, I don't care what you believe. Just leave me the zuck alone. That's all I want. Not asking for much. You may believe the same things that I do, and maybe not. And I can't exactly call myself politically correct. That's not one of my traits, and I don't particularly care. I mean, if you want to cancel me, you'll probably lose. Why? Why are you going to lose? Because I'm Asian. Yeah. Although that doesn't account for much right now. If you're an Asian going to college, you'll probably be discriminated against too. So, anyway, here on YouTube, a lot of YouTubers are Asian. Yeah. So, I'm sure people are wondering about that as well. But anyway, the point is that I just want to be left alone, and it's very basic basic requirement. Now, the problem, guys, is I look back in history and I look at what I experienced in my life. And I mean, I remember as a young person going into the street and then have some military guy just take people off the street, not me, but just taking people off the street and say, hey, you have long hair. We're going to cut your hair right in the middle of the street here. Your hair is too long. Can you imagine, guys? This is the military doing this to you. I mean, something as simple as saying, well, I want to have my hair long. Oh, no, you can't do that. It's not even speech. It says even your appearance. You can't even do that. When you experience this, guys, you're going to say, what the zuck? I don't ever want that ever in my zucking life. I don't want a repeat of this. I don't want a repeat of that. I want to be able to just be left alone to do whatever I want that's not hurting anyone, and it's not against the law, and doesn't hurt the population in any kind of a way. And I just want to think what I want to think, and then when it's time to vote, I want to vote. Oh, you can't even vote back when I was young. If you voted, it doesn't matter what you vote. The dictator always wins like 99% of the vote. 99%! People, 99% of the vote. It doesn't matter what you vote. So people say, oh, it's impossible. Nobody can rig elections. Trust me, it was done very frequently. So a lot of countries have done a lot. So yeah, 99% the dictator wins. And yet, when I left the country, they had a revolution. And so I was like, how do they have a revolution when 99% of them were pro-dictator? You're right. You're right. How did that happen? So yes, I've been in the U.S. for a very long time. I'm a citizen of the United States. I've been here a very long time. And I think of myself as American, and but just to give you a little bit of background, that I've experienced things that I do not want to ever repeat in my life. And I want to tell young people that you don't want that. And the problem is, I always wonder, what if the dictator during my youth, what if he had access to the phone records? What if he knew what you all thought? What if he can actually identify by specific person based on where you live, which household was against you? What would have happened then? What would have happened then? By the way, just to show you a little bit of what happened during that time, I remember when martial law was first declared, and citizens were required to deposit their guns into these public areas where you're supposed to put in your guns. And if you don't, then and you get caught with a gun, then you could be killed. Gonna hold you for treason or something. So I mean, in retrospect, I mean, I was too young to have any guns for myself, but in retrospect, I would have said, you should have hidden your guns, not give it, because that's the way that a dictator controls the society by saying we're going to confiscate everything, and he did. He confiscated all the guns, and so then no one can fight against him because the military has the guns and nobody else has. And that's how they control it. And this is part of my life's history, folks. This is why I'm telling you this. And I'm saying some of you are kind of in dreamland. You have no idea what it's like to be in that kind of environment. In retrospect, I would have done things differently, and I would have been more, of course, I was a kid, so that doesn't matter what I did because I was just a kid. But I mean, in retrospect, thinking if I were an adult back then, I'd be doing things differently. And one of the things that have learned is that one of the things that I want to do is make sure that nobody knows what you're thinking, that nobody has a record that says you're thinking this, you're thinking X. Let me categorize you and put you in a slot so that we can go target you. And back then, targeting meant a different thing than Google and Apple targeting you is a completely different thing today. But back then, targeting you was very physical. It means somebody showing up at your door with M16s and saying, hey, you need to come with us, okay? Or, teachers disappearing from school and you don't know why they disappeared from school. You don't know what that feels like. You have no idea what that feels like. Well, the problem, folks, is back then, the government had no tools to actually identify specifically who thought what. They had no record of that. Today, I'm going to tell you something, and I'm sure some of you don't even know this, but in many states, your political party affiliation is recorded, and I could go on the internet and search for you and see what your political party is. Not true in California, but many states actually publish this, so you can actually see. If I knew your name, I can just look you up and say, oh, such and such is a Democrat and such is a Republican, or such and such is unaffiliated. If I knew that, I would say, maybe I should always be an unaffiliated. So my drive towards privacy is based on life experience. I'm not trusting of government, to be honest with you. I'm not trusting of anyone collecting my data. I'm not trusting of any Google creating a map, which they do. They have a map. You actually, in case you didn't know this, and many of you don't know, that if you have a Google Android, that Google, well, you don't have to have a Google Android. You can have an iPhone or an Android, that Google has mapped you, and based on your social media track record, based on your Gmail, based on what you do on YouTube, and based on some of these things you do on other social media, they have a record of that, and it's attached to your Google ID, and it's part of Google Analytics. So when you go to any website, they can actually track you specifically, what you clicked on, what you believe, and then it's recorded, and then they have your location, obviously, because you got a Zucking phone. You get your Zucking phone, right? So they have your exact location. They say, oh, yeah, we got you. So all of those with specific beliefs, especially if you're anti-vax or one of those things that they want to categorize, you're in a map. You're in a Zucking map, folks. Okay, and some of you don't believe this. I have a video showing the actual map. I actually just took a sample of people, anti-vax people, and I just picked some small town in Texas in the database, and showed you this. And some of you don't believe me that they actually have this, and it's so easy to do this because they have your Google search history, and they have your Google ID, which leads to your exact Google exact location, and they got you with your Google ID and your location. They can actually just pinpoint you and knock on your Zucking door. So, knowing that, and you're like, I'm just going to do my thing. I love my iPhone. I don't care. I got nothing to hide. It's like, you Zucking fool. Of course you should have something to hide. I'll go into more of the technology of this in the next video. But goodness, folks, the ability of Apple and Google, and Apple included, Apple is a mass surveillance machine now. You just don't know it because theoretically they don't sell the data to advertisers. They have the data. For what purpose they're using it for? Probably for mass surveillance with the government. I'm not sure exactly what they're using it for, but they're collecting it. They're the worst one, actually. And so they know every person, where you live, what you're thinking, and you're like saying, oh, who cares? Nobody's going to use this data. Like, Zuck, you don't have my history. I've seen this data abused. Well, I've seen the abuse without data because there was no data back when I was a kid. There's data now. Now what? Now you power some dictator. It doesn't have to be a dictator. It could be anyone with, intent and power. And the power can be abused in many ways, including just knowing who they need to convince. And as I said in my last video on Apple versus Twitter, which many of you didn't watch, but even with that video on Apple versus Twitter, I said, hey, all you need is to convince 1% of you that you should vote one way or the other, and politics change, because many of the votes now are within 1%. 1%. Now, depends on what side you're on. The problem is some of you think in terms of Democrat versus Republican kind of thought processes, which you are sadly mistaken. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with money. It has to do with money and who can control the money and something that benefits them. I don't actually, I couldn't even tell you what their logic is. It's not all sensible to me. Why does a company like Vanguard or BlackRock or one of these big investment firms, why are they pushing certain politics? I don't understand this. Because what does that have to do with money? It must have a money reason, because I can't think of any reason other than money. If you think they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart. No, like Vanguard and BlackRock, they probably have the majority of the money in the U.S. at least. I don't know how much of the world. And as part of the funds that they invest, and they can control Apple, Google, and everybody else because they own so much stock. So somebody told me that between Vanguard and BlackRock alone, they own like 2.3 billion shares of Apple, something like that. It's like, whoa! I don't know how many shares Apple has. Sounds like a lot, though. So, and some of you are so innocent. It's like, oh, this guy has something to hide. Oh my gosh. Okay, so what does that have to do with me and what I'm teaching you now? Well, the fact of the matter is, I'm no ordinary person when it comes to tech. I mean, I was a chief software architect for a very long time, decades. Okay, so I started working for a big company at the beginning of my career, and then after that, I started my own company. And I started with innovative companies, and obviously, having started my own company, I couldn't call myself poor. I don't have to do this. I don't need a job. Nobody has to give me a job. I don't have to do this. I don't have to go to YouTube or Twitter or Rumble or Odysee and say, this guy is only on YouTube because he wants to sell his Brax 2 phone because, he's trying to make money. It's like, suck you. I don't have to do anything. I could just stop here and say enough. I do this because I really believe in this. I could just say, I don't need to do this. I'll just go, since Twitter is so in need of resources, I'll just say, hey, I'll go work for you, Elon. It's like, Zuck, no, I don't need a job. I don't need a zucking job, folks. Okay? So I made a career of myself, in the tech field. And whether you like it or not, my skill levels in tech are at an extremely high level. I've done enterprise software for decades. And my software's still being used by pretty big players even today. I'm not affiliated with that anymore. I don't do that. I have no connection with any of these businesses that I was associated with in the past. This is all I do. What I do here is all I do now. I don't do anything else. So why do I do this? Because I can see that there's a need. And when I offer you solutions, it's because I'm thinking, what is the solution for this? Why do I keep talking about these these Brax phones. Why? Because what is your alternative? I can't think of an alternative where you say, well, I'm going to keep using my iPhone and my Google Android. Well, there's an alternative, because the whole thing is to depower these big tech companies, and the way to depower them is to use a phone that's not controlled by big tech. Yeah, I have so many haters. They go around and make claims of what I do. Anyway, I'm out of time, so I'll try to continue and discuss the technical details of why the phone is a problem. I'll do that in the next video. Okay, so I know I have 2 videos out there. Please watch them. Please support it. Nobody's watching the Twitter Apple video thinking that, oh, Twitter is no longer going to be dumped by Apple, so we don't need to care. But you need to care, because you need to understand how they have the control. They can change their mind any day on any app, not just Twitter, but on any app. And they have the right, not the right, but they have the ability to do that. And you do not have any influence. They can do whatever they fucking want. And they may be influenced by BlackRock and Vanguard, because they're going to be driven by whatever, the billionaires say, and they're going to tell you what to do, and you don't have a choice. Anyway, let me continue in the next half an hour. This ends the given topic. We may talk about it in the next segment here, but before I do that, we're going to talk about my sponsor. So my sponsor is Linode. So Linode is now Akamai Linode. And what is Linode? Linode is a cloud service provider. I told you in the not the last video, but a couple of videos ago, video from yesterday, actually, how I think about it, where I talked to you about the fact that it's important to learn how to do Linux servers for career purposes. And if you ever want to do that, you're going to say, well, how do I learn how to set up servers on the cloud? And the way to do that is you go to a company like Linode, and if you can invest $5 a month, you can actually go to Linode, set up a server, and actually be able to test out and learn skills on how to set up servers on Linode for as little as $5 a month. And if you don't only do it half a month, because they base it on the time the server's up. So if you set up a server and then you terminate it immediately after it's done, you don't get charged for that time. You only get charged for the time that's up. So Linode is an actually excellent place to be learning that. And of course, if you want to actually have a website or some such server, you can go to Linode and have that running, again, for as little as $5 a month, or as big a server as you want. I have many servers on Linode. So Linode has a special deal where they will give you $100 that you can use over a period of 2 months. And if you use the code Rob Braxman, so go log into Linode, linode.com/Rob Braxman, uppercase or lowercase, I think, from what they told me. And then you should be able to get a $100 credit. So do that and learn about Linode and have all that set up. And we will continue with the next segment. Okay, so Linode's actually a pretty good company, and much better in my experience than Amazon and AWS. Better support too. Anyway, Tesla phone. There's no Tesla phone. So don't come to me and say, I'm not sure I should consider your phone, Rob, because there's this Tesla phone I need to buy. No, Tesla has no phone. Some people have, gotten hundreds of thousands or even millions of views on YouTube saying this is the design of the new Tesla phone. There is no Tesla phone. Okay. But of course, if anybody threatens Elon, he might make a phone. The problem is it a phone we're going to want? So don't assume that just because he has the funds to make a phone that is something that you're going to want. So this is my phone. I'm just trying to collect the data to make the next video about this phone. And I'm going to make some announcements now, even though I haven't made the video yet. But so this is the Brax 2 phone. And by the way, look at this nice case made by somebody named Cowboy Zero on Brax Me. And he just sent me this. This is a new version of the case. And he even included a little stand there, so you can hold the phone up in the stand. So he even included that on there, and he gave me different colors. So let me see here. I got a blue one here and a black one, and yeah, it's a much better design. The buttons are easier to press, and yeah, it's a nice hard case because we don't ship with a hard case. We ship with a softer case. So, and yeah, it's Cowboy Zero. He's on Brax Me. You contact him and he will sell this. I don't know how much he charges. I think it's $15, I think. But yeah, I like it. So I just got this. So I just want to show it to you. So if you have a Brax 2 phone, you can do that. Anyway, Brax 2 is open source. Not many of you don't believe me because you haven't seen the open source. So I lost the link. I'm just collecting the data again, and hopefully we'll release it in a short video. But Brax 2 is based off, and you can put this in your notes here, so you can go check it out. It's based off the Good Phone Foundation. So that's the new organization that. So we had to kind of do some reorganization here to organize the relationship between Brax 2 and the Good Phone Foundation. So the source code of Brax 2 is tied to the Good Phone Foundation, and the name of the OS of the Good Phone Foundation is called LineageOS. Okay, so this is based off LineageOS. It's open source. You can compile it yourself. I don't have the link right now. I had the link. I lost the link to the actual source code to LineageOS, but I'll get that for you when this is, because the website is still being constructed. I am one of the advisors to LineageOS, and LineageOS is run by Dominic. Dominic is the head of the Good Phone Foundation, and you can see if you go to Good Phone Foundation that there are I believe 3 phones based on LineageOS. One of them being the Brax 2 phone, and then the other one is called Simple Phone. Simple Phone and Brax 2 phone are pretty much the same. The OS is not exactly the same, but it's more just UI. The Simple Phone is made for the guy that makes simple apps, because the Brax 2 phone, if you look at it, all the apps or the basic apps are made by Simple, and Simple make a lot of apps that you see on F-Droid, and this is actually open source. So I even showed the source code for it earlier today. Simple apps are made by Tibor. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but so it's open source as well. So yeah, so Brax 2 is completely based off Good Phone Foundation, and the only difference in the source code between Good Phone Foundation and this is more the visuals. So yeah, and the apps that I select, but the actual source code is actually for the main app is exactly as you would see on the Good Phone Foundation based on LineageOS. So no secrets here. This is, I'm just trying to be as transparent here as I can about what this is all about. And yeah, and of course, being a new OS and being a very specific phone, we sometimes have problems where certain things have bugs, and even simple apps have bugs, and And so there's a community that reports the bugs, and it's a simple apps guy. Tibor is he works on fixing the simple apps, and then the OS itself is maintained by the Good Phone Foundation. Okay, so and then I'm the one that just specifies what I want in it. In case there's any mystery, there is no mystery as to where Brax 2 phone comes from. There is absolutely no mystery, so you can go check that source code. The guiding principle to the Brax 2 phone and the Good Phone Foundation itself is that we're trying to solve the privacy problem, but we're not trying to be extreme and saying there's many things you cannot do on the phone, like you can't you can't have you can't have a store, you can't go to Google Play, you can't do any of that, which obviously is not true here, because you can go to the Aurora store and download most of the apps. Most of the apps do work on a standard Google phone. This is much better than even LineageOS, which I happily support. I like LineageOS, and many of the phones that I ship from here on Pixels are LineageOS. But this is much better than LineageOS because, of course, we have more control over it. We can actually specify which apps and things that you can't do on LineageOS, for example, is you can't do a reset. If you reset LineageOS, it doesn't come with MicroG and Aurora Store. It'll wipe everything out, and you got to start from scratch. And it takes a long time to set up all the apps. Whereas this, we control all that. So we preload all the system apps, and there's a lot more to control in the settings. You have much more control over what you can do on the privacy side and the security side that you can't do on LineageOS. So in that sense, it's superior to LineageOS. However, it doesn't mean that LineageOS is bad. It just means that there's some advantage to being able to have direct control over the device as we do with Brax OS. You really don't have to worry about what you can do with the phone, because we can maintain it, whereas we don't personally maintain LineageOS. You depend on volunteers who may or may not fix bugs for you on LineageOS. So here, if there's a bug, then there's at least somebody who can look at it and somebody can look for a solution to it. Whereas on LineageOS, there's typically only a person or two that's involved with LineageOS for every phone model. So if that person doesn't support it, then you're kind of zucked. So anyway, so that's just kind of giving you a little bit of background as to this phone. And this is categorized as a de-Google phone. Now, why is that important? It's a de-Google phone, and de-Google phones have no Google whatsoever. There's nothing here that's connected to Google in whatever way. One of the important features of this phone, for example, it doesn't have Wi-Fi triangulation. It doesn't have the ability for Google to spot your location without you knowing it. For one thing, you never log into Google. There's no Google in here. But beyond that, there are other tricks that Google has to collect your location using something I described in another video about supple and NLP, near location provider, and all that, and tower triangulation, which this does not have. In fact, GPS doesn't even work indoors. And one of the features of a de-Google phone, this kind of de-Google phone, that's really important, is that there's no identity. So even if you go to the website on Google on the phone and you log in, they can actually identify the phone and say, oh, I know what that phone is, and it's this serial number. They don't have that information. There's nothing Google on here. There's nothing that can identify it. They can't even connect it to a location collected by the Google supple. Not a video, but you can watch that, the supple video. So this is a phone that completely is not subject to any kind of censorship. It's not really, they don't have any ability to even know what you're thinking, what you're doing. They can't map you and say, I know this guy is is an anti-vax person and lives in this part of Texas. There's no way. They can't collect that information. There's no Google ID. There's nothing. There's nothing. Do you mean, Ricky, do you mean Ubuntu Touch? Ubuntu Touch does not, unfortunately, the problem with Ubuntu Touch, and I supported Ubuntu Touch for many years, is they don't have a phone model that works in the US. The phone on the list is OnePlus One, doesn't work here anymore. Nexus 5 doesn't work here anymore. Pine Phone doesn't have the battery life. So somebody said that they now support Pixel 3a, Pixel 3a XL, but they don't actually have a promoted model where they can say, "Yep, this works for sure," meaning there's some bugs with that. So it's a problem. So for that, thank you. Oh dear plays is always so nice. Thank you again for supporting this channel, my friend. So so because of that, I'm looking around. I'm even telling you about my friends from PinePhone. PinePhone is a great company. Pine.org, Pine64.org. They're a great company, great people. I love them. They're awesome. But it's not under their control. If you can find a phone, they have Pine phones in small supply. The problem is, where can they get the supply? They have supply chain problems. They're a small company. And then the OS has issues. Linux, they're running Linux. I mean, I wish for that to succeed. I would be happy to promote it, even if I don't make a dime. I don't make a dime. I need a Linux phone. So, but I want to give you options. There isn't one. So this is the only option right now. And obviously, I got to make a profit on this, or I can't sell them. I mean, we support it, and it costs money to make the phone and bring it to market and so on. It's very hard. It's actually very hard to bring a phone to market. And your Nexus 5 works okay wherever you are. It doesn't work in the US. Nexus 5 is not supported in the US. So unfortunately, I can't do. I was even selling pre-flashed Ubuntu Touch here in the in my channel, and I can't do that anymore. Even Moto G7, I had a lot of those, and I sold it with LineageOS, and then they stopped supporting those. So because of 4G, we're kind of limited now. So, but this is not a phone with that problem. By the way, the early models of the Brax 2 had some problems with some carriers because of the IMEI issue, which I released in a video. We don't have that problem anymore. We've gone around that, and the reason is we actually have software to be able to flash a different IMEI on the Brax 2. Brax is probably the only phone where you can change the IMEI to whatever you want. So you can actually tell T-Mobile or any carrier that the phone is something else. All you have to have is, you can say this is an iPhone. All you have to do is get the IMEI of your iPhone and transfer it to this and transfer the SIM card over, and they're not going to know any difference. It's going to look the same to them. And that's one of the big benefits that you cannot do on a Pixel, for example. You cannot change the IMEI on a Pixel, which is actually quite a privacy benefit, because if you are able to change the IMEI on the phone, you're in a better privacy environment, because they can't identify the phone is pretty much identified by IMEI. If you're able to change the IMEI, they actually lose track. Not that they track it. A lot of them do not actually track the IMEI other than to look at the manufacturer. What do you think about new blockchain social network Bastion? I don't know. I don't like blockchain social media. I don't like blockchain messaging. I don't want anything like that. And the reason is blockchain is immutable, which means they have a permanent record, which means if you have metadata, it's permanently stored, so you can never take it back. There's a purpose to that, but for privacy, it's not actually a good thing. So I do not like blockchain for social media. I like something that can be erased, and you can't erase something when it's in a blockchain, because that's the feature of the blockchain. It's immutable. That's the terminology, immutable. Sina Annie, why are you leaving? Are you going somewhere? I guess. What is the website? I guess in the description. The website Brax.me. So yeah, I made my own app, Brax.me. I made it a long time ago, so some of you will say, "Oh, your app, it looks so outdated." Yeah, I know. I built it 10 years ago. So it's okay. 5G support. No, you do not want 5G. No, it's 4G. It doesn't have 5G in it. You need to reject 5G as long as you can, because 5G will pinpoint your location to inches. So you don't want 5G if you can help it. There's no real 5G yet. So, and this is not a 5G phone. So, yeah, there's no 5G phone in the full sense of 5G yet anyway. They're just multi-channel phones. And multiple 4G is what's being called 5G. It's not 5G. We don't have 5G yet. Once we have 5G, good luck on privacy. So, yeah. I'm just trying to read the comments here on Rumble. Can't Google their existing locked carrier phone, can't afford to buy a new phone that is to Google. Well, many of you are quick to buy an iPhone for $1,200 with all the bells and whistles, or at least, $900 for a lesser model, or buy a Google Pixel 6 for, some equally obscene amount. And this is 400 some bucks. It's at least half the, less than half the cost. So, yeah, it's less than half the cost. So I'm not sure, how that's that can be a problem. And considering the number of people buying a new phone every year, you can even say, well, I'm not sure I want to do that yet, but you can afford to try it because it's only, $400 some. So yeah, so it doesn't break the bank. It doesn't break the bank. So considering the features in here, it's a very nice phone actually. It's not. Look at it. I don't have one here that's. Let me see if I can find one. It's actually brand new and unopened. Maybe I have one back here, just to see what it looks like. Okay, here's a brand new one. I don't know if you can see that. So it's a bigger phone. It's like XL sized. So it's like the bigger iPhone or bigger Android. So it's not like the tiny ones like the Pixel 4 or 4a. So it's the bigger size model. And and it comes with the case even. Although it doesn't come with this hard case. You can so somebody in Brax.me is making this hard case here. And yes, we're already thinking about next year's model, mid next year or so. And we're thinking about something better as far as like a sturdier design, maybe aluminum or glass case, harder to scratch. Yeah, so it's kind of it's difficult to make a phone. So, for people who buy phones every year, you may want to consider when we come up with the next model next year to upgrade to something fancier. So I'm sure we'll have something fancier. We're already planning it now. So and just to connect this, the operating system is LineageOS from the Good Phone Foundation, and you can go Google that, and we're gonna put the source code and all of that and that in on that website, and I had it's not on the website, they haven't posted on there yet, but the source code is in fact available. Does Brax support offline voice typing with micro G? It supports offline accessibility for commands. Somebody actually found that using Gboard from the Google Play Store, using Aurora Store, that they can actually dictate to it. I've not tried that. Understand that when you use something like that, then it's going to go to Google. However, the phone has no identity, so it's not a total loss there. Even if they sent your voice to Google with this Gboard app, there's no Google ID. So if the Gboard app works, which it does, apparently somebody tested it, then it might be a plausible solution. Again, the issue is not that you send data to Google. The issue is, do you send your identity to Google, which it does not. The phone has no identity, so there's no way to do that. My only concern is if Gboard requires you to log in, which I don't believe it does. This is all new to me, said Sina Annie. Well, welcome to my channel if this is new to you. Yeah. So, I mean, you have to consider the issue here. Somebody could censor you. Somebody can block information. Somebody can manipulate us based on mapping even what you think, because you're so cavalier about what you do on the internet, and you say, I'm going to just, it's like watching my relatives here on the holidays, and on Thanksgiving here I'm watching my usual nieces, and they're all typical millennials. They're like tapping on their phones all day, and so I don't care. I'm not doing anything nefarious is the comment I often hear, and it's like, yeah, girls, yeah, you're not doing anything nefarious, but why would you want, having my personal experience that I just talked about at the beginning of the video, why would you want Google to know what you're thinking? Why do you need them to know what you believe so they can then tell you that you shouldn't be worried about privacy? Because, by the way, that's one of the disinformation campaigns, is to tell you that you don't need to worry about privacy, because that's actually one of the messages they're trying to tell you. So on that ground, I'm losing because, if you have a standard phone, they have a duopoly. They can control the information to 99% of the phones, because how many of you have a standard normie phone? 99%. 99% of you have a standard phone, and they make 2 billion phones a fucking year. Every year they make 2 billion new phones. There are 8 billion people in the US, new phones, 2 billion a year. Just do the math here. Do the math. Even if phones were 3 years old, that means 6 billion phones. Every man, woman, child, even baby have a phone. Crazy. And all of those are all standard normie phones where they can track your location. Yeah. If you have a Google Android or standard iPhone, track your location like you wouldn't believe. Regardless of what they tell you, it is false. They track your location. You cannot stop it. There's no way to stop location tracking on an iPhone, even when the phone is zucking off. Even when it's off. You can't switch it off because the iPhone turns into Zucking AirTag, which is why when I switch my iPhone off, I put it in a Zucking Faraday bag. And hopefully nobody with a iPhone went near me while I was putting into the bag, because if somebody was near me with an iPhone, it would be starting to report that to Apple. So, if you believe that you have nothing to hide, because you, like my nieces say, I'm not doing anything nefarious. What the zuck is nefarious back when I was a kid? If you just disagree with a dictator, what the zuck what is nefarious with that? Just you can't believe anything different? I mean, most people believe different things on different topics. You're not allowed to do that. Oh, this is America. We don't need to worry about that. Right. Sure. Believe that you want, because you actually think that you can control things like elections. Let's actually stop believing that I can even have any influence in elections, because they're going to manipulate the information. So people will vote based on information they know, and the information they know is what is supplied to them. So, come on. So at one point the Republicans say, oh, we're going to be winning, we're going to be because Biden is doing so badly, we're going to go win, we're going to take over the House and Senate. Yeah, right. Of course, in my mind I say, you actually believe that it's going to be smooth sailing. Somebody's going to know the information to spread that will work and can switch it around. And of course, they found an issue because somebody's leaked something from the Supreme Court on abortion, and there you go. Something to talk about. There's always something. So depending on who has information and who pushes the right information, you can change opinions on such topics at will. You just do what are called focus groups, and test out theories of what you think will trigger the population, and you send that out. What do you think politicians do all day? Do you think they really care about you? No, they just push an idea out there, say, oh, this will work for us because we want power, so we're going to try it, test this against this market. Oh, that worked. Okay, we're going to go push that. I don't trust any politicians, sorry. I don't care if they're left or right. I don't trust anybody. Some of you trust some. I don't particularly do. Having run companies, I've had my share of meetings with government officials where you had to give a little donation to have a meeting with certain politicians to get some sort of influence. So, come on. You don't think I know how the game is played. I know exactly how the game is played. When people tell you that they don't receive money for doing XYZ, they're lying to you, because that's exactly how it works in politics. And you're very naive if you think this is all free. It is not zucking free in this world. No. Yeah, some of these kids, they have just no idea what goes on. They don't understand that the politician didn't, do X and Y because it was done out of the goodness of their heart. There's always some money involved, and somebody met somebody, and got given some money, and it depends on who gives them more money. Doesn't always work, but you take a risk. Yeah, in case you didn't know this, and some people will hedge their bets. They'll give money to both sides so that either side wins, they get some influence. Happy December, Great Gold. Happy December, Great Gold. Happy new month. Happy new month, right? It's just every ordinary month. Yes, happy new month. That's funny. So, for those that care, Merry Christmas. For those that care. So anyway, it's funny because, again, if you build it on the theoretical, some people really have no understanding of how real life works, and they have this dream and idea of some purity in politics that doesn't exist in real life. So yeah, in real life it doesn't work that way. So yeah, politics is politics, which is why this is one of the reasons I hate politics, because it's not really what you think it is. Yeah, you can kind of organize it in terms of ideas, but in reality, the ideas that win tend to be it's a very narrow band. It's not a lot of ideas that win. I mean, you got extremes on both sides, but the ideas that win are, in a range which you would not really shake the world up so much. And it just appears like it's going to shake the world, but it doesn't really, because if you actually think about it, it doesn't change much. Oh yeah, they're going to raise your tax by a couple of percentage points this year. Then next year they're going to, lower your taxes a couple of percentage points, and back and forth. That kind of thing. It's not such a big change necessarily, and because they know what works within limits. So yeah. So people just want a job but cannot be expected to be good people. I don't know what that means, but okay. Just trying to read some of these comments, and I'm not sure I understand. So, okay, let me go look at the comments here on I guess Rumble didn't feed my live here, because we don't have that many people on Rumble. My last video was fed live on Rumble, my last live stream, and I had 130,000 views on a live stream. It's like, what the? On Rumble. Did not expect that. So they didn't do that today. So, yeah, I almost have to ask them to do that. They don't always do it. So anyway, let me just trying to get some of these comments. Yeah. Going back to these products here, I can't imagine. There's some really evil people who even attacked me on Twitter. Mostly from the graphene group, because the graphene people are very weird. So graphene people are made, as much as some of you may want to use graphene, and I'm not going to stop you, because it's fine. I mean, it'll run fine for you. Just don't believe in their promises, because the fact of the matter is the community is sick. They're a very sick community, because their leader and all of the people who are in that kind of acting like they're the leadership group of that group they don't even know what motivates them to do an OS. They don't actually know. They don't even know if they should make a cybersecurity phone or privacy phone, because they're failing at the privacy side. They don't even get it. They don't even get what they're making the phone for. So they put like cybersecurity features that nobody really cares about, and then make the phone so limited in functionality for no particular reason other than the fact, we could be hacked. When we already know that if somebody wants to hack you from a state level, they can. It doesn't matter what the phone is. Solution is not to rely on your phone. And you have less chances of getting hacked on the Google phones just because they don't have, they don't have the ability to do certain things on the Google phones. KaiOS is partially owned by Google. Why would you want KaiOS? KaiOS is not an issue in the U.S. because you can't really get KaiOS in the U.S., but KaiOS is very popular in countries like India. It's Google. I mean, KaiOS is linked to Google in a big way. So no zucking KaiOS, please. Okay? So don't even think about KaiOS. I mean, you're going to do your search, and whatever you do on Google, it's going to be recorded. You got your Google zucking ID on it. Does anyone have a screen protector for Brax 2 phone? Brax 2 phone screen protectors are the same as any other 6.5 inch screen protector. So just go to Amazon or whatever, get a 6.5 inch screen. It's the same size. This phone is within 1 millimeter or maybe 2 millimeters the size of a Pixel 4 XL. I mean, it's almost identical in size. So it's a very popular screen size, XL size, like a larger iPhone. They all have the same 6.5 inch screen. Okay, so yeah, so fortunately they've standardized the screen. So there's the smaller screen, which is, I believe, 5.5, and then the 6.5 inch screen. You're watching this on Rumble, but are you on Rumble? I don't see you on Rumble, Peter. At least not in the comments. I don't see your comments on Rumble. Okay, so I can't believe what? Okay, so no, iPhones can't be de-Googled. The problem here is this, guys, and I've explained this in many of my de-Googled videos. Do I need to repeat those videos? And some of them have 1 million plus views now. You need to have a different kind of phone. You can't convert an iPhone or a Google Android to be safe. There's no actual way to do that other than to replace the OS. Apple does not allow anybody else to replace the OS, so that's not a solution on Apple. There is no solution on the Apple side. On Google, on Android phones, there is some solution for some phone models. Some companies, like Google, allow the Pixel to be modified so you can load different OSs on Google Pixel. So Google Pixels are somewhat flexible for 50% of them. They have to come from Google Store. If you buy the phone from a carrier, you cannot de-Google it. If you buy a Pixel from a carrier, you cannot de-Google it. If you buy a Pixel from Google itself, you can de-Google it. So it's about 50%. 50% of Pixels can be de-Googled. If you buy your phone from Verizon, no. If you buy your phone from AT&T, no. If you buy your phone from T-Mobile, no. You have to buy it from Google. So this is why we have a service. We actually sell Google Pixels, and we already pre-screen them, and we already know we can install them. So that's why we sell Pixels as well, and we take the risk, which it's very hard for you to take the risk because 50% of your risk will fail. Meaning, if you buy a phone and you can't de-Google it, it's a 50% chance. So we take that risk, and then we sell you the Pixels. But why worry about that? You got Brax 2 phones, which are already brand new, because the Pixels are not brand new. These are brand new. So they have brand new batteries, and so they're good to go. Okay, so yeah. Let's see. Trying to make sense of some of your comments here. Yeah, when you want to work with Verizon, the problem is some of these Brax 2 phones do not work with Verizon 100%. They work. There's some reports of texting issues with Verizon on these. It's the only problem I know of. Texting incoming is the problem that I know about. It's not a global problem. It's a problem for some. I mean, the phone actually works fine otherwise. If that happens and you can't leave Verizon, then the alternative is to go with a Pixel, which I'm happy to give, replacements. So if you have a Brax 2 and you say, well, I can't get the service I want from Verizon, we can exchange with a Pixel 4a, for example, which is roughly the same price. So we can do a happy exchange. So you're never at a loss. But Verizon is kind of a problem. The phone, actually, you can make calls, receive calls fine with no problem. And the problem is they have a bug on their APN that they send to the phone when you go to Verizon, and there's no way to edit it, and that causes the issue. So the APN is wrong from Verizon in some places, may depend on which tower you're at. I don't really know the details of why that is, but yeah, I don't really have an explanation as to why. But it's something that we just need to be aware of. It's the only problem that I know of is some Verizon, some. There's certainly a lot of people on Verizon that doesn't have any issue. There is no Tesla phone, please. So don't even think I'm going to hold out. I'm not going to buy a phone because I'm going to get a Tesla phone. No, there's no Tesla phone. None. So even if Elon said, I'm going to start designing a Tesla phone tomorrow, I mean, be a couple of years before you see anything. So, no, and some people say, I heard about this Freedom phone. Should I get a Freedom phone? It's like, suck. You don't need some Freedom phone, which is actually like a Moto G7 or something like that. You don't need that. This is a better phone. So this is the Freedom phone. This is a free, not free in price, but free in giving you free choice because you're not tracked. Not that I'm, this is not about promoting the phone. I'm just trying to give you options here because that's the only way to get out of this control. The yoke of control is to get out of the main way they track us now is by phone, which I want to really talk about on the next video. What carrier do I use in New Zealand when I have a Brax 2? I don't know what carriers are in New Zealand. I've shipped many Brax 2 phones to New Zealand. There's a lot of them there. I ship a lot to Australia, New Zealand, UK, Canada, Australia, Denmark, Sweden, Germany. Yeah, seems to work everywhere. Seems to work. Oh, what the cost? It's $420. The phone costs $420. The new model. We have an older one that's $389. The new model costs $420. The international model, which I don't have much left now, is $389. But the current model is $420. So not terribly expensive phone, as you can see, and yet a nice phone. Yeah. Merry Christmas, Sina Annie. Taiwan Semiconductor coming to Arizona. Well, is that good? I guess it's good if they're investing back to the U.S. I heard that unfortunately Motorola recently got bought out by Google Motorola Mobile, or they sold it off to... no. Motorola was sold to Lenovo many, many years ago. Motorola was owned by Google. And Motorola... So Google owned HTC and Motorola. And basically they sold all of it to Lenovo. So Motorola is owned by Lenovo, which Lenovo bought IBM computers, the PC side. The ThinkPads bought that from IBM. So Lenovo took the IBM computers and continued that line. Kind of high-end computers. They took over Motorola, Lenovo, and HTC. HTC design team was retained at Google. So the HTC design team, which makes the Pixel, is owned by Google. I don't know if they're still called HTC, but they were the design team for HTC. Phone deal on VPN cost. I don't know what that means. Yes, I have a VPN as well. So VPN is $89 a year. AT&T owns Cricket. Yeah, okay. I didn't know they did, but Cricket is AT&T, yes. Pure Talk is AT&T as well. I don't know who owns them. Ting used to be independent, and I used to promote Ting.com. TingMobileNow.com. Used to be just Ting.com. Ting.com or Mobile.com, I believe, was bought by some other company. Is it the trying to remember if they were, I think they were originally Canadian and they were bought some other company and then they turned bad. They just became I can't tell you that I would recommend Ting now. I'm still on Ting, but not something that I would highly recommend. There's many options that are cheaper. Companies like Zucking Mint, Ryan Reynolds constantly telling us about Mint, did not work with Brax 2 phones because they did an IMEI check and say that IMEI is not valid. So as I told you, we can change the IMEI. You can change the IMEI on any Brax 2 phone to whatever you want. If you have an iPhone, change the IMEI of the Brax 2 phone to iPhones. It will work with any carrier. So we pre-ship it now with a different IMEI. So the IMEI we ship it with is for Pixel 4a, and you can change it. It's really easy to do. You can change the IMEI every day if you want. So apparently it's not illegal, as long as you're not in the UK. I think it's UK. It's not legal to change the IMEI other than the manufacturer. I can change it, but because we're the manufacturer, but don't change the IMEI in the UK. Go to the EU, change the IMEI in the EU, and bring the phone back. or tell them that I did it for you. So, but yeah, there's no problem in the US. There's no actual rule that prevents you from changing the IMEI all day. So and the best IMEI to use is some other phone you use. So let's say you have an iPhone and you don't want to use that phone, but you want to make them think that you're still using that phone, change the IMEI to that, and you're good to go. Only that Brax 2 can be done like that. You cannot do that to a Pixel. So the Brax 2 has some real great privacy advantages. So highly recommend that. Okay, we're at 9:24, so we have only 6 minutes left. Will the Raspberry Pi with VPN ever come back to your store? I cannot get Raspberry Pis anymore. I am looking at a stack of Raspberry Pis here that I have not put in the store. I'm going to guess maybe a dozen Raspberry Pis. That's all I have. Maybe a dozen that I've not sold. And if you go into Amazon, you'll notice that the price of Raspberry Pis have tripled. So yeah, so I can sell them at a higher price, obviously. I can't get them anymore. You can buy a Raspberry Pi still, but it's very expensive. And the reason is the supply chain. There's just not enough stock. Where am I located, Mojo? I'm in Los Angeles. I am in some part of Los Angeles. LibreOffice computer is the price Raspberry Pi was supposed to be. Back in the day, you could buy a motherboard, a Raspberry Pi motherboard for $35. But since they're not making them, I don't know why China stopped making Raspberry Pis. Raspberry Pis are designed in the UK with the Raspberry Pi Foundation in the UK, and they're manufactured in China. Why they can't manufacture Raspberry Pis after several years, I've no sucking idea. Brax to work with TrackPhone. It should work with TrackPhone fine, yes. The only real problem with carriers now on Brax 2 is some problem with some Verizon, and not a global thing. Not a global thing. I don't actually know of a problem with a MVNO of Verizon. This is just a problem with Verizon itself, and the problem is with the APN. It's a thing they send to your phone to say where the network is, the network information, and they're sending an incorrect one to the phone, and I don't actually know why. So anyway, head over to Brax.me and choose store. Yeah, so yeah, go to Brax.me, Brax.me, and there on the menu you see store. And some people say, well, I gotta sign up just to go see the store. Signing up on Brax.me is not some privacy invasion. I mean, it doesn't ask you for anything. You just need to create your username and give yourself a password. That's it. It's no big deal. I'm not going to go, dig out information from you if you don't want to stay. So, Brax.me is open source. There are no mysteries on Brax.me. If you want to find out how Brax.me works, it's open source. So don't be afraid of Brax.me. Like, oh my gosh, what is this guy doing? He's supposed to be the privacy guy and is doing secret things on Brax.me. It's open source. And I in fact made some changes today to the open source, and I'm about to push it onto GitHub so you can see exactly the changes that I made. So yeah. Did you say under earlier Brax 2 are newer than the Pixel phones you sell? Yes, Brax 2 phones are brand new. Pixel phones are always used. I buy them used. Typically, the Pixel phones are about a year old normally. At least the ones I buy. I buy them in very good condition, so normally they're about a year old. The Brax 2 phones are brand new. So yeah, so obviously the Brax 2 phone is a much more reliable option because the batteries aren't going to fail on you. Not that, a year-old phone isn't going to have a problem with the battery, but, after about 3 years or so, you start to have issues. You installed Calyx OS on my 3rd Google phone. I'm proud of you. You can certainly do that. You can do any Google OS that you want. It's okay with me. I mean, that's good. If you want to do that, that's fine. That's certainly fine. So if you want to see, so Brax 2 is based on the Good Phone Foundation. I want to repeat that. Then you can look at the source code. I'll see. I can't remember where I put the link to the source code. I'm asking for the new link. If I do, I'll post it on Brax.me, and if you ever want to look at the source code, you can look at it. If you care, if you know how to look at source code for, like C, because it's in C. So like Android open source. So, okay, so I'll post it on Brax when I have that link. So Good Font Foundation. You can go search that on the internet. And the website is new, so it's still being constructed. But you'll see the reference in there. You can see the link to Brax, the Brax 2 font there as well. Okay, so we're out of time. And I will see you next week. I want to really pursue this topic of, making you understand phone technology and why it's really turned so evil now. So thank you for watching, guys, and I'll